Welcome to the Inner Magic School podcast, the podcast for spiritual women with vision, experts in their industry, ready to remove the unseen roadblocks, step into their true power, and fast track their business success. Despite what you've heard, hustling harder is not the answer. Success happens naturally when you become fully aligned. And that starts on the inside. So get your notebooks ready and let's go to Inner Magic School. Welcome back to the Inner Magic School podcast. I'm so happy that you are here. I wanted to give you a quick little life update before we get into this really incredible episode that I brought my good friend Jen Stillion in to have with us all around abundance. But I just wanted to connect with you because I have kind of been on a little bit of a hiatus over the last couple of weeks, not super long, but a couple of weeks it's been. So I just thought I would pop in and check in with you and kind of just give you a little update, like I said. So obviously we're in the corona time, the times of corona. And things are kind of up and down right now. As of the recording of this, it is mid-July, and so it's summer, so kids are home. Things where I am have opened up a little bit, but our numbers of cases have kind of also been rising. So it's still kind of like, what are we doing? What are we doing? And what's interesting with that, with having a little one at home, is that we're still not able to do a whole lot of things. It's been an interesting ride. It's been an interesting time. And for me, what I have kind of done is I've really taken a really good hard look at what kind of the overall picture of what's going on for me, for my business, for my life, for, all of the things, and how do I want this to really look, and how do I want this time to look? And I keep redoing that, and I keep revisiting it. In fact, I talked about this in a recent episode, in a recent podcast, about auditing your life. And one of the things that I was realizing was that it's just been, it's been a really interesting kind of time in my business specifically, with how do I juggle all of the things? Maybe you feel that way a little bit too. How do I juggle all the hats? How do I wear all the hats, juggle all the balls? How do I do it all? And what I was realizing for myself is that because I am home, because I am, a mom. Maybe you are too, maybe you're not. Either way, there's still room for you to kind of look at this in your life. But I was finding for me that I was hitting a little bit of a burnout. I was hitting a little bit of a overstimulation wall, we'll call it. If you are a sensitive person, then you may know what that means. And even if you're not a highly sensitive person, you may still, that all of us experience burnout at times. So what I was realizing for myself after a conversation with a really close friend is that while I've taken quite a bit of a step back in my business and kind of put some things on hold and on pause and really focused in on kind of the essentials and what's really important to continue, obviously, my business, and to make sure that all of my clients are taken care of, and all of the responsibilities, all the people I have responsibilities to, making sure that I deliver what I say I'm going to deliver. And but then what was happening was, even though I took this kind of like really step back from trying to do all of the very many things that I was doing, I also was still being with people, with my child, with my family. There was constant something. I wasn't able to really I wasn't providing this time for myself, my self-care, to kind of like shut all the things down and really get quiet with myself and have that recharge time. I wasn't recharging, and I was starting to hit this kind of a wall, like I was saying, this burnout wall of all the things that we're doing during this time. And so what I did, and what I would encourage you as well to do, is really looking at all the areas of your life and seeing, constantly be checking in with yourself. How do I feel? What's happening? What do I need to maybe move around? How can I continue to feel my best and be able to deliver the things that I know I need to deliver? How can I show up as a better mother? How can I show up as a better coach? How can I show up as a better business person, a wife, a daughter? All the many hats that we all wear, but really getting really clear on what are the things that you want. How do you need to feel to create that? And really leaning into that question every single day, if possible, but definitely every single week, and really auditing, how did I feel this week? What went well? What did not go well? Where do I need to improve? And how could my schedule be shifted around? Where do I need to ask for help? Where do I need to delegate something? And really getting honest with yourself about what that looks like. And this is the way that we're all going to make it through this time. Sane, first of all, mental health first. But also maintaining our business and the things that we want that also contribute to the rest of our lives, and really looking at the overall picture of, how do I want my life to feel? How do I want to feel every single day? And really, really getting clear about that, and then being relentless with creating that life. And so that leads really well, actually, into this conversation that is about to unfold with this beautiful human. And I can't wait for you to hear it, about creating your abundant life. Welcome back to the Inner Magic School podcast. I'm so excited to be here today with my amazing, magical unicorn of a guest. Jen Stillion, rhymes with million, which is perfect for the conversation that we're going to have today, which is all around abundance. So thank you for being here and chatting with me.
Yes, thank you for having me. Woohoo! I'm excited for today's conversation.
Yeah. So do you want to I just did like a teeny intro. Do you want to just like tell the audience, our guests, about you just a little bit? We'll just start there.
I'm Jen Stillion. It rhymes with million or billion.
Yes, or billion. Excuse me.
Or billion. Yes. Yes, I'm a magical unicorn because I love unicorns since I was a little girl. They're magical, they're powerful, and I can just identify with them. And I feel like it's a symbol for my life and for, receiving, living a really abundant and magical life. So, I live from that place, and then I help a lot of people with what I do. And what I do is I'm a speaker, and I'm an abundance coach or abundant coach. And I use dancing because, dance is in the word abundance. Did you know that? Dance.
I didn't until you pointed it out to me. And I was like, oh, that's good.
I know. I'm like,
so perfect.
I love this word. And it's been staring in front of my face for years. And I'm like, oh my gosh, the word dance is an abundance.
I mean, talk about alignment.
I know, seriously. So yeah, so what I do is I speak and I use dance to move people, to get them up and shift their energy and to have fun and bring more fun and joy in their lives, as well as a lot of different wellness techniques. And I do that as well in my coaching. So that's what I do, and I love it.
You're triple threat. Triple threat.
Triple threat. Oh my goodness.
So I feel like abundance, money, all the things, all the beautiful life things, the things that kind of like make life beautiful and the way that we want it, those are like my favorite things to talk about. Those are my
Mhm.
favorite topics. So you kind of mentioned that you have a little bit of a different take on abundance. So I'd love to hear from you, like what is it to you and what's your take on it?
Well, I like to paint a picture for people. I like to use the dance floor of life. And I have this theory, or I have this little saying that who you are on the dance floor is who you are in life. So think about that. So think about
Ugh.
it, Sarah. When was the last time you've actually danced with a group of people on the dance floor, like at a wedding or a club or a party, and how
I'm a
you show
party
up?
animal. Are you kidding
You're
me?
pretty. I can imagine that.
Sorry.
No, I love it. And the reason why I use that metaphor, because there's so many lessons that dance teaches us. And when you're there, when you know you're there and the music is pumping and you are, dancing to your favorite song, and sometimes it takes a lot of people a while to get there because dancing for a lot of people is uncomfortable. It's just
Mm.
uncomfortable because it's the most vulnerable form of movement. So you got the people that, are immediately going out the dance floor because they don't care what people think of them, and they're just out dancing and moving. And there's a lot of people, I would say half of people, are very self-conscious. And so there's a lot of lessons there about life. And so I came with this like metaphor of, who are you on the dance floor of life? And like you just said, you're a party animal. So when you
No, but okay, so this is so good, and so I've never considered it in this way before.
yeah.
And I'm thinking about it, yes, from my perspective, my lens, and I've been on both sides of that. And
Uh-huh.
I see the difference in my life
Mm-hmm.
and the difference in how, like, standing on the sidelines, checking it all out.
Yep.
I don't
Yep.
know. I care too much what everybody's thinking. And then I've also, as I've moved through my life and gotten rid of some of those, restraints, limits, blocks, whatever,
Uh-huh.
fear of judgment. But I totally am just like, oh yeah, I love this song. Let's go.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I see this. This is awesome.
I know. And you just described some of the identities that people, carry. Like, are you a hider? Are you a follower?
I
When
was.
what's and you
I used
were,
to be a
yes.
hider. Yeah. So sorry.
Or there's some people that use it to, get a lot of attention. They're the first person out there and they are like owning the whole dance floor because they want the attention. They want to feel
Mhm.
validated.
Yeah.
And then when you do get to the dance floor, and then most people have to drink a cup of cocktails to take the edge off to feel confident to get on the dance floor,
Mm, yes.
So when you get there, so you're there, okay? After like an hour, you finally got there, you're in your groove, you're dancing, dancing. So what kind of person are you? Are you following everybody else's moves? Are you in that circle? You know that circle that girls form and they're like, "Oh, she's doing that move. They're all
Yes.
doing the same
Yes.
movements."
Yes.
Are you a follower? Or are you somebody who's totally like, owning the stage and has to be in the spotlight and flapping your hands and going crazy because the more moves that you have, the more you'll be seen, right? Or are you somebody who just kind of, you're on the dance floor, but you're just hugging the sides of the dance floor because you're like, I'm here, but I'm doing very minimal movements because I don't really want to be seen, but I have showed up and that's it for me. So it's that. So the abundance, I call abundance, is when you are really, because there's always that one person, let's say it's a girl, it's always that one girl on the dance floor who is off from the corner, and she is like, she doesn't care about what anybody thinks of her, and she's like doing her own thing. She's free. She doesn't need the attention, but yet she's so uninhibited and untamed, and she's just going for it. And you're like, I want to be that girl. You know what I'm talking
Mm,
about? Can you
I
see
know
it?
that. I can see it. This is a beautiful metaphor. Yes.
And so that girl, she's arrived. She's in her abundance, because the beautiful thing about dancing, we've all experienced it one time in our lives, right? When you're in the flow and you really have let go, and she's let go, right? And you've surrendered, something takes over and it's
Mhm.
unplanned. You don't know what movements you're going to do. You
Yes.
didn't choreograph it beforehand. You're in the flow, and then it's an instant download of joy. It's your natural way of being, and that's what dance is. That's what abundance is. So that's my little take on it, to give people that visual, and
Good.
to, understand, because the thing is, And the first thing that we think of when we think of abundance is money, right? We think of money. But but abundance is every area of your life, right? Like you can be a millionaire, but you can also be unhappy in your marriage, unhappy with your body. And that can block the flow of abundance. So it's like every area in your life, you have to just take a look at and see how, what's keeping you from not fully opening up and being that girl on the dance floor where you just are just letting go and not really caring about what people think.
Mm.
I just went on a tangent there.
That was
So
so good. Such a good tangent, though, because it really painted a picture for me, and I know exactly times I've been some of all of those things. So I imagine other people will be kind of visualizing that for themselves as well and take something really powerful away from that. And
mhm.
you're right. I agree with, I think everyone agrees with this, but that abundance is all areas. You can be abundant in all the areas, or you can be really abundant in one area and not as abundant in other areas. And so really looking at it as your life as a whole versus I need money. Because the other thing is that it's all connected anyway.
It is. It is. It
And
is. It
do you
totally.
see that in
Yeah.
kind of in your work as well? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I noticed that when you begin to work on one area, you're starting to work, it's a ripple effect. It kind of affects all the areas because really it's not about the thing. Like we know it's not about the money. It's not about the material things. It's not about relationships. It's a reflection of you,
Mhm.
right? It's a reflection of you. And in the dance floor of life and just coaching people and in my speaking gigs, I get a lot of, I'm not a good dancer. I'm uncomfortable dancing. And it's not about the dancing. It's about these like limiting beliefs and stories and thoughts that hold us back from being really, true to who ourselves, to be really ourselves, our true selves. And I love using the metaphor of dance because there are a lot of people who are so uncomfortable, but really they're just uncomfortable just being with themselves
Yeah.
and really letting go and not caring what people think of them, right? So
100%. Yeah.
yeah.
And it's like you're saying, how you do one thing is how you do everything. So how you are on the dance floor of life is how you are in life, right? So I
Yeah. Yes.
so good. It's
Yes.
So
Mhm.
what are some things, some tips that you would maybe give for bringing more abundance into your life and kind of filling out all the areas, since they are kind of all related? You pull one thread, it starts to, knock down other dominoes. That's like two metaphors, but we'll go with it. Um, those don't really go together, but we're just gonna roll with it. Um, so what would be some tips that you would give for people who want to bring more abundance into their life?
The first tip that comes to my mind, and I really, what I've discovered for myself and working with my clients is that the underlying belief, the really common belief we all deal with is not being good enough, right? We're not good enough. We don't feel good enough. So that for me was a major block of really just being in my abundance, really
Mm.
just being myself. And, it starts with, this, it starts with the thought, and you have to be like a detective.
Ooh.
Where is that thought coming from? And that's where it begins. And it literally took, a tip of using your app, like a voice memo or writing it down throughout your day of that's where it begins. And then moving your attention, moving your thoughts. And another technique that I use when I feel like, and, feeling not good enough, you may not know what that is, but it masks in so many different ways. Like
That's the thing. And that's the thing I think that people don't fully get.
that's a,
People are like, oh, yeah, no, I feel good about myself, but all these things are going wrong in my life. And then when you trace it back,
yeah.
yeah, sorry.
Yeah. So I'm going right into the core. As you know, I'm just going right to the core. So, you know, it can mask and, why are you spending hours on end watching watching Netflix when you know that you could spend time moving forward in your business, but where is that coming from? Are you eating ice cream and chips out of pleasure or out of something that is, that you're distracting yourself from yourself. It's perfectionism. And there's so many different ways of, like the person on the dance floor, like, why are you hiding? Why are you staying in your comfort zone rather than just putting yourself out there? And, if you're in business and helping a lot of people. So that's where it begins. And, or if you have anxiety or stress, where is that coming from? And so that's that's why you have to stop. And it takes, and people think it's a lot of work, like self-care is a lot of work, or you take 5 minutes, you're in the restroom every morning, go into the bathroom. What are you saying to yourself when you look in the mirror? What are you saying to yourself when you're taking a shower? So it starts with the thoughts and detective work. And what I do when I feel, for me, it was anxiety, it was like fear, it was procrastination.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mine was perfectionism, big one.
Okay. Mine was procrastination because I was afraid of really like not accomplishing something, following through, because I'm like, if I do, then I'm really putting myself out there, and that scared the crap out of me. So I started there. And then what I did is I moved my thoughts, but I would put my hand over my heart and I would just take a moment and I would take 3 deep breaths, and I call it the 5-5-5 rule. So inhale for 5, hold for 5, exhale for 5.
Ooh, I like that. 5, 5,
Yeah.
5 rule.
Yeah.
People will be taking notes. I'm like writing that down.
Notes.
5, 5, 5. That's good.
And then I would just talk to myself like I would talk to my child or talk to my partner. I would give myself like oodles amount of love, reminding myself who I am. I am loved. I am cherished. I am valued. I am unique. There's only one me on this planet. They're kind of like positive affirmations, but I would say things to make me feel like, get into my body and to make me feel like I'm a rock star.
Mm.
And so that helped shift my attention, getting into my body, getting out of our head, because get so caught up in our heads and our minds.
It's just so easy to just stay stuck in our minds. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's the inner work. It's those kind of things that you do throughout your day that helps you unblock, and then, sitting in silence, like that's.
All right, talk to me about silence, because I know so many people who have so much resistance on silence. And actually, I'm getting ready to, in a few weeks, share with somebody's mastermind about silence. And it's one of the biggest things that has really changed the game for me. And so I want to hear from you about what do you mean by being silent, and why would I do that? Imagine I'm your client and you're like, okay, I want you to be getting silent with yourself. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds like a lot of work. I don't know about that. Tell me why.
First and foremost, yes, I'm all about the tools and the wellness techniques. I mean, I've studied EFT tapping, every single thing, but the one thing that I resisted the most was meditation. Sitting in silence, because I was like you. I was like, I do not freaking want to sit quietly and listen to all the flippin' chatter in my brain and carve out time just to sit with myself. And so I resisted. That was the last thing. And then, a certain coach of ours in coaching group got in, one of our assignments.
Many names, Jim Fortin.
One of our assignments was to sit in silence for 4 flippin' hours. And I was like, oh my gosh, 4 hours. And there was a reason for that, because it takes about 2 hours for the monkey mind to calm down and then just sit with yourself. And so this past year, I've done it 3 times. And now I implement silence every single day, 15 minutes to 20 minutes a day. And then on the weekends, I do it a little bit longer. And I'm obsessed with it. Why? Because I was resisting being with myself. I was uncomfortable just being with me. So the question I would ask you, if you are resisting, first of all, how is that working for you? I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
So if you are saying, I don't like meditation, or I resist it. So basically what you're really saying is that you are resisting just being with yourself, being with the one person that needs the most love compared to all the people in your life, you are the person that you're running away from. So I had to seriously like come face to face with that. And I was scared of my own self. And it's just myself. so, so
But I
that is
think so
why,
many people can relate to that. And I
yeah.
was there too before I ever did. I was like, I don't want to do that. I have too much to do. I have this, I have that, because we don't want to come like that close to those thoughts that you were talking about first, that you were talking about that, because sometimes those thoughts
Yeah.
are not beautiful. They're
No.
not beautiful thoughts. And when you come that close to them, it can be really disconcerting. It can be really almost scary,
Mhm.
if you're not used to it and you don't have the tools to redirect.
Yeah.
So I love that you actually started with that, because once you get into the silence, that really is the work, is to continue to just bring your mind to a quieter place.
Mhm.
And what's beautiful for me, and you can say your experience, but when you are able to do that, bam, that's when the stuff comes. That's when the good stuff is coming through, right?
That's when the revelations and aha moments and downloads come, and you are like moving like inch by inch closer to your true self.
Mm.
And going back to the thoughts, that was a really good point. Going back to the thoughts, I was scared of what those thoughts were going to be, and I was scared of the negativity and stories. I was scared of facing my own truth, of the stories and the crap that was going on in my head, and I didn't want to face it.
Mm.
And I noticed that they made me feel uncomfortable. And I noticed that there were certain behaviors in my life that I was entertaining that kept me from sitting with myself and being uncomfortable. So I noticed that, chips is my favorite thing. I love chips.
Mm.
But I noticed that when I get frustrated, I want to eat chips. It's that crunch.
Mm.
And because when I have those thoughts of feeling overwhelmed or feeling like I can't do it or feeling like it's too hard, or these thoughts that kept me from procrastination, I was turning to other things like chips, or sitting in front of the TV for 2 hours because I just did not want to face these thoughts. And then I've learned that you're the thinker of your thoughts. Your thoughts are not who you are. They're not going to kill you. You're not going to die thinking negative thoughts, right? And
But we
so
think we might. I think sometimes people
I
think
think we do.
they might, because it is so uncomfortable. But you're
Yeah.
right. You're right. Especially if you have the tools like you're talking about to begin to find that awareness and then pull the thread, and then begin to shift them and say, I'm the one that gets to choose whether or not I think that thing. I
Mm-hmm.
don't have to think that
Yeah.
ugly thing that just came in. I can choose a different thought.
Yeah. The choice. When you have that choice, oh, it's so empowering. So
It is.
freeing.
And all of it to me leads back to awareness. I think
Mm-hmm.
awareness is like, it's so key. And we can't stay there, because that's the other thing, is like, I feel like sometimes we don't want to become aware of things because we don't know what to do about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the whole point is that if you can become aware of it, if you have that awareness, then you can figure out, you don't have to figure it all out from, you don't have to have it all figured out. You can figure it out along a journey and along a path, and find tools and people and coaches and things that can come along beside you and say, hey, I've been there too, and here's what I did.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, yeah, the awareness is the first step. And that's why I was going back to the tool of be a detective, see what's going on with your thoughts. That's the first key. Now, what to do in this moment. And, in my line of work, I get a lot of people saying, okay, that's great. I'm going to start doing that. And then they stop.
Mm.
They stop. And it's the whole fear of, working on myself or self-care is just too hard. And it's a process. And that's the thing. You have to start where you are. And it's a practice. It's not like you're going to suddenly have all these thoughts gone and like a wave of a magic wand. It's like biddy blah boo, it's gone. It's a practice, like yoga. It's a practice. So that's something that I've discovered with, and with myself too, because I wanted to just be, in arriving to a meditation or sitting quiet. And sometimes I don't keep my eyes closed. I don't know about you, Sarah. Sometimes I just stare at nature and just sit. Sometimes I get up and move. Like sometimes it's a moving meditation for me. Like that's what dance is as well. It doesn't have to be, there's no right or wrong way to sit quiet. Um, and I think a lot of people think you just have to sit and with your eyes closed with your hands
Right.
together and kumbaya, but it's,
Yeah.
it's different for everybody.
There's lots of different ways to do it. Yeah. So I totally have done it with my eyes open, just looking at a candle flicker and kind of watching the flicker. To me, a big thing recently for me, which I've talked a lot about, is being in nature and being in my garden.
Wow.
It clears my mind like nothing else. And so, or even just getting my feet in the earth, earthing and grounding in the earth is so powerful for me, and such a shift of energy, and I'm able to begin to just like get quiet in my mind. So you're right, it doesn't just have to be just sitting there and like, that is one way, and that's great also. But you're right. And even so, to continue on with that, even moving your body, dance, would you say, could be
Mhm.
part of that, or no?
It can be. I mean, you want to stay in your silence. So, without any music,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
sometimes I've stood up and moved a little bit, but you don't want to distract you from your experience of just clearing out your thoughts and receiving some downloads of, what's coming through you. But sometimes I have, like, if I'm in nature, I connect with nature. I'm like you, or nature, it just, for some reason, I can just stare at nature for long periods of time. And I feel like I'm connecting with that and with the flow of nature. But sometimes, I've worked with clients who I really have a hard time to sit still. And there's something to be said about that because they're movers,
Mm.
and starting out, just, listening to the silence, getting up and moving your body and then sitting down again. Sometimes the thing is, you don't want to limit to yourself. There's only one way. Like you said, there's the candle. There's so many other different ways to meditate. Candles, staring at a picture. I
Yeah.
mean, there's,
And maybe I don't mean meditation with the dancing, but a
yeah,
way to clear the channel, I guess, is what I'm
yeah,
thinking
yeah,
of. Um,
yeah.
I'm thinking of that Martha Graham quote that I'm not going to be able to fully say, but the one about there's an
A life
infinite
force.
life force, a quickening, and it has to come through you. And if it doesn't come through you, it's going to be lost forever. I'm
Yeah.
totally butchering that. Go look
No,
up the Martha Graham quote.
that's my favorite. That's one of my favorite quotes. Yeah.
Yeah. And it
Yeah.
makes me think of painters who are painting, artists who are painting, or dancers who are dancing. There's this kind of being in the moment. It brings you to a moment. So it is different than silence or meditation specifically, but there are plenty of ways to clear the channel and connect with something beyond yourself.
Yes. And with that said, dancing is the full expression of abundance. I mean, it
Okay,
just,
so tell me about that.
well, it just
Love
is. I mean, when you're dancing, and this has nothing to do with being a professional dancer. Just so you know, every single one of you that are listening right now, you can dance. You can dance. Whether you're busting out the robot or whatever form of dancing, you can dance, okay? It's when you're in that moment, whether you're dancing with your kids or having a dance party with your family or at a wedding, all of you, we've all danced at our weddings. It's an instant download to joy instantly. I mean, you're
Mm.
not thinking about any,
Joy, that's so good.
yeah, you're not thinking about anything else. Do you realize that? It gets you out of your head and into your body. You're not thinking about what happened 2 seconds from now. You're not having what happened 2 seconds, or what's going to happen 2 seconds from now, or in the past. Like, you're in the present moment. And that is a beautiful metaphor and a picture of what abundance is, because it is full. It's a fullness of joy. It's a fullness of, like, strength and mind and body and soul. And it's actually all around us, but most importantly, it's actually in us. And so when you're dancing, you're allowing for this joy to come through you, and you're out of all of the stuff in your head, and you're just moving and enjoying and laughing, and it's bliss. So to me, that's what abundance is.
And the thing is that the more we're in that state, the more it's transforming other parts of our lives, the more we're focused and tuned in to joy and happiness and now and now and now.
And now, and in the moment, and
When we're in the
now.
moment, the more we are pulling those things back into our lives and again transforming all the other areas, right?
Yep. Yep. And I have to say, like, a year ago, I was working on this procrastination thing that I was, at the time struggling with. And when I changed my identity and when I really became a committed person and finishing things I started, I'm going to tell you that abundance started flowing into my life. Money started showing up, but I wasn't particularly focusing on money. So that's the thing. When you're whatever area that you need to choose on, other areas open up. You start to, see more opportunities coming your way. You start to see money. You start to see your relationships unfolding beautifully. Like it's like a spiral effect. And it begins with working on what's going on inside of you.
That's so good.
Yeah.
So good. Okay, so if people want to find you outside of this conversation, where can they come find you and learn more about your magic?
Oh, well, you can find me. My podcast just released last week. It's called Yes, it's called An AbunDANCE Life with Jen Stillion. Yes.
Rhymes with million or billion.
You can find me on Instagram. I love the Instagram, Jen Stillion, or my website, jenstillion.com. And yes, I would love to meet you and come say hi.
I love it. Okay, so as we're kind of wrapping up, what would be one thing that I know I'm putting you on the spot, but what would be one thing that you would maybe want to leave people with if they were just getting started, and if they were like 2020 has been such a crazy, like literally
Crazy year.
upside down year. Maybe somebody's feeling a little anxious or overwhelmed, like to maybe turn things a little bit right side up. What would be kind of like one last thing that you would want to leave people with, talking about how to pull that abundance in, which we've given already a lot of things, but just to sum up and wrap up.
Oh, I can go in so many different ways. Just one thing. I think the most important thing that I would say is, what is stopping you from just being with you? Because the abundance journey is discovering who you are and recognizing the magic that has been in you all along. Like Dorothy from Wizard of Oz, it's in you. It's who you are. It's who you are when you came to this planet. So what is stopping you from just sitting in silence or asking the difficult questions of what's going on in my head, and really beginning that inward journey? So that's what I would leave, because you can have anything you want in life, and it begins with you. And it's not outside, it's inside. It's the inside.
Perfect. I love it. Thank you so much for
You're
sharing
welcome.
all of this beautiful, beautiful magic with my people. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Sarah. You're amazing.
Oh.